doesn't have to be loud and noisy and bloody. It can be very quiet and interior sorrow. I want to talk to you today about an everyday heroine who kept her sorrow to herself, and about a small family and the effect that war and separation had on them. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. To set the scene, it is 1913 in Southern Ireland. Bridget Quinlan is a young woman. She's content, she's not wealthy, but she's got a lovely husband, she's got 2 young sons, and she's just given birth to a little daughter, Johanna. 1 year on, everything changes. Her husband, Maurice Quinlan, is a travelling cattleman. He catches pneumonia and he dies. He's 35 years old. Bridget is left with 3 little children to bring up on her own with very little means. She's only 27 years old. Her relatives rally round and they offer to make a collection that will help in some way financially. And it would have helped a great deal if it hadn't been for the intransigence and selfishness of one man, her father-in-law. He refused to have the collection made. He said that no daughter-in-law of his was going to live off charity. And it was like that then. We wouldn't put up with that now, but that was how it was. Another relative stepped in. She was not very, very well known to them. She was visiting from the United States. And she offered as a temporary measure to take the eldest child, Nikki, to live with her in the States. So 2 weeks after his father's funeral, Nicky Quinlan sailed off to the States with a woman he hardly knew. He was 9 years old. The whole plan was for Bridget to follow with the other children. Nobody is really quite sure what happened because they didn't go. Johanna the baby was a babe in arms, and it's thought that perhaps she was too young for entry to the States. But there was another really critical thing. It was 1918. The war broke out. Very shortly after that, as soon as it ended in 1919, the Irish War of Independence broke out. And that was followed by the Irish Civil War. So from 1918 till 1918-19 until 1923, there was war, either World War or there was war in Ireland. It would have been very difficult for somebody even with means to travel. People did travel, but there were U-boats and all sorts of things. But Bridget didn't have any money. Bridget had to go out to work. She became a stewardess on the St Andrew, the passenger ferry that goes between Ireland and England. She worked on that ship all her life till she retired. She went to Dunkirk with it. And she was helping take the soldiers off the beaches because it became a hospital ship. But back then, she had to put her children to live with other relatives in a boarding school. I mean, Johanna the baby was 2 when she went to live with sort of a boarding school come foster home. Bridget never had any money. She worked very hard, but she never had the money to bring the children over to join Nicky, or for her to get him back again. And what of Nicky, alone on the other side of the world? The woman who took him in had a baby a year or so later, and he wasn't badly treated, but he never really felt he belonged. He turned to the church for comfort, and he became a priest. It was as a priest that he returned to Ireland, paying his own passage, when he was 27 years old. He was the same age when he got back to Ireland as his mother had been when she last saw him and when he last saw her. And the same age as she'd been when she was widowed. His little sister, the baby, was 19, and his brother was in his 20s. They were strangers. Did he blame his mother? Yes, of course he blamed his mother. Was his mother to blame? No, his mother wasn't to blame, although I'm sure she blamed herself. They didn't really speak about it. People didn't speak in those days, so it was all this sorrow and this hurt kept in, festering. Well, not festering, because they just managed. People in those days, they just got on with it. They put one foot in front of the other. It was a struggle, but they did it. Why am I telling you this story? Because that question, why could she leave Nicky all that time? Why didn't she do something about it? I was brought up with that, because Bridget Quinlan was my granny, my lovely granny. She was feisty, she was courageous, she was strong, but she was very proud. So she would have seen it as looking for sympathy if she'd been asking everybody to help her. She helped bring us up, so I knew her all my life. And I can tell you, she wasn't to blame. And my big thing now is I wish I could tell her. I wish I could get her to tell me how she felt, so I could share it with her and at least tell her that nobody would blame her, that we understood why. So I want to leave you with a thought. We all tend to judge people, but try not to judge by the circumstances we're in and by the times we live in, because it's very different for other people. Other times, other ways of doing things, people just didn't talk about their feelings. They weren't as open. We're lucky. And the second thing I also want to ask you is, if you've still got grannies, parents, uncles and aunts, talk to them. Ask them about their lives. Give them a chance to talk to you about it. It may not be possible, some people don't want to, but if you can, do. Because if you don't, you might regret it.